Okay, good evening and welcome to this evening's meeting of the Woodbury County Zoning Commission. Today's date is February 28th, 2022, 6 p.m. Tonight is the time. Tonight's meeting will be audio taped and minutes will be prepared. In respect to all parties, we ask those present turn off cell phones, vibrate. Those in attendance are asked to legibly complete the attendance sheet upon the front table. We'd like to take a moment to review the procedures that the commission will follow tonight. First, the commission will handle the normal housekeeping agenda items. And for each application on the agenda, I will open the public hearing on the item. Planning and zoning staff will then present the staff report, including the staff recommendation. Any letters or other communication received from the public prior to the hearing will be entered into the record. The applicant will then have the opportunity to present his or her case in response to the staff report. Next, we will hear comments from the public. If you'd like to speak either in support of or against the application, you must come to the microphone. Please first state your name and address for the record. All interested parties should be heard, but repetitious comments should be avoided. Repetitious or irrelevant comments may be rolled out of order by the chair. I ask that you remain respectful and courteous with your comments at all times. After all public comments have been heard, the staff and applicant may make a closing statement. The hearing shall then be closed by motion and vote. Thereafter, no further comments from the staff, public, or applicant may be heard unless asked for by the commission. The commission shall then deliberate the case and may ask questions of the applicant, the staff, or any party offering testimony. However, such questions do not be openly or for additional comments from the public unless so requested or approved by the commission. The commission will then formulate a vote on a motion. The motion will typically either grant or deny the requested application. Any commission member who has an ex parte communication to place in the record of this meeting should do so prior to the beginning of the deliberation of the respective agenda item. That being said, we need to do roll call.
We can just for the record indicate that Commissioner Barbara Parker is here this evening and the rest of the commissioners are present. 4 out of 5.
Okay. Item number 3 is the public comment on matters not on the agenda. We have no one here, no one on the phone. Okay. So we'll move on to item number 4, which is the approval of the minutes of January 24th, 2022. Additions, corrections. If not, you can entertain a motion to approve.
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
Motion, I have a second.
I'm going to abstain since I wasn't here.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Same sign. Okay, minutes have been approved. Items of businesses. Item number 5. Public hearing. Invite.
It's infinite. It should say infinite view edition. Should be a correction. The agenda should say infinite.
Okay. View addition minor subdivision proposal. And you want to read the information in the record, please?
Yes. Gwendolyn Hodges, who is on the phone this evening along with Craig Beadle, the surveyor, has filed an application for a 3-lot minor subdivision on the property identified as parcel number 874715200002. The purpose is to divide the parcel into 3 lots, including 1 for the homestead and 2 for agricultural lots that will continue to be farmed. This proposal has been properly noticed in the Sioux City Journal's legal section on February 11th, 2022. The neighbors within 1,000 feet have been duly notified via February 11th, 2022 letter about tonight's hearing, February 28th, 2002, before the Zoning Commission. As of February 21st, 2 phone inquiries and 1 written comment, which is in the packet, about potential industrial development were received. Appropriate stakeholders, including government agencies, utilities, and organizations have been notified and have been requested comment. No comments of opposition were received. The Woodbury County engineer found the proposal in compliance with Iowa code closure requirements and found that the lots had adequate access. Extraterritorial review was waived by the city of Salix via resolution number 2022-3 on January 12th, 2022. The property is located in the special flood hazard zone 8 floodplain. Information that is being added to the packet tonight is laid before you on the desk is the Iowa Department of Natural Resources determination for a base flood elevation. And just for some clarification, staff is administratively requiring now for the property owners to acquire this data so that we can have it presented on the record at some point following the completion of the subdivision. You would see that in the packet. What we ask for them to do is have their attorneys file an affidavit where it will eventually follow up on a title search so that people have the DFE data available to them when property is exchanged, because these Zone A floodplains, what happens is the base flood elevation data is calculated directly by the Department of Natural Resources, and they're using a 3-month wait to get that data. So there's some burden on property owners to acquire that data. And so by following ordinance regulations and having that data available, clarifies them to the property owners that yes, when this is in a floodplain, you will need this data eventually to do any type of work. So it's the other requirement is if you have a subdivision area that is 5 acres or greater, you should automatically go get that data anyway. It's free data to acquire. There's no burden on a property owner to acquire it other than the time to wait for it, basically. So it's a proactive measure really that we're implementing to ensure that they go along with the consideration process for these. So I just wanted to clear that up. And so based on the information received and requirements set forth in zoning and subdivision ordinances, we find that this proposal does meet the appropriate criteria for approval. So the staff does recommend approval of the proposal. As I mentioned before, we do have representatives over the phone with us.
Is there anything the representatives want to add to any of the information just given?
This is Craig Beadle. Not at this time. Dan pretty much summarized everything.
Okay. Do we have anyone from the commissioners?
I guess 2 questions. The lot 1 will contain the full septic field. Well,
Yeah. Yes, the surveyor indicated that to me.
Okay.
And I can direct that to Craig as well, but it is.
And then also, by assuming you discussed the lot 2 and 3 currently zoned aren't buildable lots.
Yeah, any of those lots would trigger floodplain regulations if there were any type of development there. And to expand on that, the one concern that we had in the packet where they had mentioned industrial type of development, that would clearly fall on the lines of maybe a spot zone or something if somebody were to attempt to do that. But as the landowners had indicated, that this is for continued farming space.
Or even residential is not built very suitable on those 2 lots that's currently.
It would depend entirely on what natural ground is, and that's where the catch is there on the floodplain. So having the BFE, if they were to find out what the natural ground level is in comparison with the data that's provided in your letter, the ordinance requires that they elevate 1 foot above the BFE. So if your natural ground is sitting there, let's just make up a number and say your natural ground is at 1,000 feet, and then your BFE is at 1,005 feet, they're going to have to come up with 6 feet. That's basically the fill.
And they would also have to rezone.
It depends on the status too of the respective property owner. If there's more than 2 houses within the quarter, they would likely have to rezone. However, with the way the egg exempt law is, the egg exempt law basically states that if they are egg exempt, they file the Schedule F, and the house is there for the purpose of deriving income off the farm, it is possible to erect a house out there without a building permit.
Yeah, and that's what I was asking, if that's been discussed and they're aware of those.
Absolutely. So in this case, any type of development would revert to floodplain-based issue and staff.
Being that it's AP, you'd have to have a Schedule F and farm the ground to build on it. So
Yeah, if you're farming on it, but if we find that there's one house out there, a regular non-farming landowner is to be sold over, and they were to follow the procedures, they could likely obtain building permits and the floodplain development permits to develop, but there would be a higher level of scrutiny because of, the floodplain.
And I guess I was the one guy had commented about if it's gonna be a subdivision, or, you know, and his concerns there would be addressed by the fact that if it's not AP, or if it's not ag, they'd have to rezone.
Yeah,
In AP, it's one per quarter.
two for the houses.
Okay.
Yeah, and so, like, his question was something to the nature of industrial,
Okay.
something that's entirely different. And the biggest indicator on telling somebody in the affirmative or the negative that's a fly on that is where we're all of us are constrained with the spot zone, like regulations, where you put one new zoning district in the middle of something that is abundantly 8B. It would be much tougher to meet that criteria. The only area, and I think we've had this in all of our trainings too, through the Iowa State, is where you talk about things rooted in the general plan, the development plan. If there was some aspect of, we want to see the future of the county, kind of have this particular area, maybe in an industrial later on, and if it ties into the general plan, then you possibly could say, hey, it's part of the general plan, and so maybe a spot zone might be feasible under that because it's rooted in there. And a lot of times when things go beyond the Board of Adjustment, or if they go into district court, if something were to be ruled a different way, the courts will be very carefully looking at, was it an arbitrary decision, or is it a decision based upon being rooted in the general plan? And that's where likely the county can prevail based on a decision. If the county said, yes, we are going to rezone this way because it is in, so that's kind of where we would hang the hat on.
I guess back to Galen Johnston was the one that, there was 2 inquiries, correct?
There were two, one
He was the
of
one
them
that was asking if it was a housing development, that's.
Yeah. And I do think kind of the challenge we go through is, we're very frequently splitting parcels or homesteads off, basically so the farm can continue and sell the house off to somebody else to basically live out of town. Our subdivision regulations kick in on the second split in the quarter most often. And so our minor subdivision regulations, when you come here for a public hearing, actually follow the same criteria as if we're doing a very large scale one. Like when we were talking about the 12 or 14 lots on Old Highway 140 a couple years ago, that's the same process that if somebody's just doing a simple, okay, I'm splitting it off, it meets the criteria. So I do think that's intimidating to the landowner that don't go into this very much. I'm just splitting off my house, subdividing. And I think that word kind of gives off that, that message to them. And so a lot of times then the neighbor within 1,000 feet gets the letter in the mail, they see subdivision, and my mind, without, getting into the details, thinks, wow, how is our area change based on this? So you can fully relate to that.
Comments or questions concerning this proposal? Our criteria that we were given? Everyone agrees with the criteria? Are we ready to make a motion?
We leave the close the public hearing.
I'll make a motion to close public hearing.
Second? Okay, say aye.
I
Agree. Motion. Move forward.
Vote to approve it.
Recommend it to the Board of Supervisors.
Motion, recommend approval of the infinite view addition to this.
Have a second.
I'll I'll second.
Favor say aye.
Aye.
Subdivision proposal has been approved to go before the Board of Supervisors.
If I may, speak to the applicants, both Craig and Gwendolyn, the zoning commission's approved the proposal to be recommended to the Board of Supervisors, and I'll be in touch with you on the next steps. So we'll work towards putting it on the Board of Supervisors agenda.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is the rules of procedure for zoning commission adoption.
Okay, just for some clarification, the Board of Supervisors did take up this is basically the formality process, the rules of procedure that were previously brought before you. So they approved them. And so really the process is to bring them back to you tonight. And they're the way they were, the supervisors voted on them. And basically this board would basically need to adopt them. And so you could make a motion to adopt them, but this, like we said before, this does enable that ability to call in if you needed to at some point in time. These the rules or sort of the follow in the future.
Okay.
Questions or comments?
Okay, I couldn't understand some of that, but you guys were cutting in and out, but I think it was approved, right?
Yes, is this Gwendolyn?
Yeah, this is Gwendolyn.
Yes, Gwendolyn, the zoning commission recommended it to the Board of Supervisors. So we'll be in touch with.
Okay, that sounds good then. All right.
Okay, thank you, Gwendolyn.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so basically, we're bringing those. And really, at this point, it would be to share with the board to adopt them, and then they take effect with Chris's signature, basically.
Everybody okay with the language that you see here?
This is the portion of the term limits we discussed.
That was removed, and so they passed a clean bill without the, and that's a separate, that was the zoning ordinance side of there.
And this packet that we just got tonight was the same issue.
Yes. Yeah, and if we ever have a major change to the packet, I will notify you, let you thoroughly know that. But this was printed verbatim from the digital and what was distributed. Yes.
Yeah. To adopt or approve, whichever, adopt.
Second.
We have a motion and we have a second to adopt the rules of procedure for zoning commission. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We have adopted them officially.
And so Chris would go ahead and sign a copy here, I can attest. So we might as well formally do it in the meeting. Here first. That will be submitted to the county auditor.
Ready for the next item, which is drafting the floodplain ordinance process update.
Yes, for some background, last May, the public hearing was held for the floodplain ordinance, which, as we had mentioned before, we don't have a whole lot of ability to come up with our own ways to regulate the floodplain, as we've got to follow FEMA and the DNR's respective regulation. And so the way the county adopts this is we bring it to the zoning commission, and of course we have the public hearing, and then we bring it to the DNR, who will finally sign off on it. And basically what happened last summer with everything going on kind of with the wind ordinance and things there, the Board of Supervisors kind of put it on delay, the back burner to kind of get through some of this process. And so I had ran it through the DNR early June, I think around June 2nd, they signed off on it and they said, fine, just a few little cosmetic things. And so you may see those yellow highlights through there where they use the word development and uses. They're kind of on the fence on what they come up with in terms of that. And I kind of guide you through a little bit. They said, okay, page 21, we want maximum damage potential to state development. So this is kind of a cosmetic from what was there last year. We go through again where it says factory built homes. They told me we want the bracket numbering to be A and B instead of 1 and 2. So a cosmetic. Maximum damage potential on page 29. Again, they want the word development in that headline. You'll see that again on page 30 where they say development, and it is. The only major thing that was a bit adjusted was a clarification statement on page 33. This is something that the landowner, the property owner would run into regardless of the repair. Where you'll see number 3, I'll kind of read it off. It helps me explain it better, but it says, if any non-conforming use or structure is destroyed by any means, including a flood, it shall not be reconstructed if the cost is more than 50% of the market value of the structure before the damage occurred, unless it is reconstructed in conformity with the provisions of the ordinance. That's where we left off last year. But what they kind of pointed out was they're going to run into this issue with the feds and the state basically. So they need this to say this limitation that they put ahead of it in the paragraph does not include the cost of any alteration to comply with existing state and local health, sanitary, building, or safety code regulations. So it kind of throws the regulatory aspects of cost in there for clarification of a structure listed on the National Registry of Historic Places, provided that the alteration shall not preclude its continued designation. And 2 gentlemen that worked with us in the office was Jason Kahn, the NFIP. I believe he's going to be the coordinator now. I don't know if many of you knew Bill Cabuccio. Bill retired. And he didn't tell me he was retiring, which kind of was sneaky, because Bill is one of the people that I would, anything I just doubt, I call Bill. Bill was just really knowledgeable on all aspects of the floodplain. And so he was involved with the ordinance a bit last year. Ken Boma is the other individual down there that scrutinizes the ordinances. His job is literally looking through ordinances for the 99 counties, making sure that all of this stuff is in place. So we're in that position where we're just kind of subject to what they tell us to do to an extent. But based on talking with David in the office and everything, and this has been a year, so we wanted to bring this back to the zoning commission because it's been some time to share it with you formally and say this is what they would want to add, and then bring this to the Board of Supervisors basically, which will be scrutinized to 3 public hearings basically at the public level and the newspaper levels.
Okay, so we need to approve these changes
Yeah,
again then?
I think it would be a good idea, sharing these with you to say that, to maybe do some motion to say that we reviewed those and maybe include this as part of your recommendation.
Any questions or comments on those items, highlighted items?
But otherwise, it's pretty much verbatim to what came about from the previous meeting.
Entertain a motion.
I
Guide
can,
you.
I'll move to approve it with the changes.
Motion to approve. Do we have a second? Okay, all in favor, say aye. Opposed, same sign. Hearing none, motion's carried. Okay.
Don't ever sign me up for the job to review those things.
I wonder if his eyes get a little bit tired just looking at that, because the language that they brought us before, we ended up renumbering it for our county. So like 5.02, so that it goes with the A, B, and C. So he even looked at that for me, like he wanted to fit.
Yeah, fall into place, right? Yeah. Be like, you would see it so many times that anything that wasn't right would kind of jump out at you.
It just
All
some,
all follows the same order, but if it
Right.
gets moved out of order.
it definitely is, and I know that they have to look at it real careful. They have to be the in-between to enforce that their local counties are meeting federal regulations. Because we are an NFIP county, we do, you know, some counties that don't have as much into zoning. There's some counties that actually don't. The DNR actually has to take place of where the county would be. So they're actually regulating based on that. They issue permits basically for the counties that do that.
Does this have to be approved by FEMA then too? Here.
It met the muster for the DNR, so that they apparently have the agreement that that's the language internally. So they basically take a copy. So if they ever do an audit or something of that nature, they're able to prove to FEMA. And I know once when I went to an event, I'm trying to think, I was out of town, I wasn't in the office, and David told me FEMA showed up. So FEMA does come once in a while when they have reps in the area.
To audit you.
Possibly, are you issuing floodplain development permits? But that's the one area within zoning the feds are definitely crossing the levels of government. Because the NFIP program is that essential, it's federal dollars, and there is a disaster, so they expect us to do what we can to enforce. We don't want to have structures that are out there and shouldn't be there and are flooding and adding to a cost that otherwise would not have been if something was enforced. So I think that's the simplest way to say it.
In Canada and Louisiana.
That's a fascinating thing, because I don't know if you've looked through some of the books on like when they have these buildings up on stilts and things, they have full regulations on that obviously don't affect us as much. But it's floodplain management is not as fun as Florida.
Imagine. Okay, we're ready to move on to the next item. It's item number 6, which is public comment on matters not on the agenda. No one on the phone, and we have no one other person here, so I guess we're safe on that one. Move on to the next one, which is number 7, commissioner comment or inquiry. The floor is open, guys. Nothing? All right. Staff updates, number 8.
Okay, the big one is you may have heard that there was an issue with the new floodplain maps. The floodplain maps are correct, but they got some panel issues with the numbering where they're located. And so there's going to be a delay on the adoption of the map. They basically got to go back and kind of go through that whole public process. From basically what FEMA will do is they will put information in the Federal Register, some of the formal papers saying that they're going through this regulatory process. We probably should hear some more from them eventually. I think they're saying July, they'll probably get the reset on that. The DNR folks told me they think probably January or February. So that's a 2-month delay. We're kind of anticipating August. Which, I'm disappointed because when landowners approach us, we're saying, here are the new maps. You might be in a better situation if you wait, basically, before you figure structuring. Because we did have some areas that came out of the floodplain nicely, which is the benefit of the property owners. Of course, some went in. I still try to compare based on where they went in and go out. So.
Doing double duty there.
Yeah, I've started using this GIS software called QGIS. It's a free software actually, where you can go acquire the data from the state. And basically what it is it's like a software beacon. It's like a form of beacon the way it is, where you can turn on the layers, kind of compare a little bit, just so that I can glean a little bit more knowledge on where some of these problem areas are. If you ever have questions when you're looking at things or researching, let me know, and I can run you off on that or something. Locations.
Cross-referencing. Is that all you have?
That's all I have.
Is that all you have? Are you ready to adjourn?
I can make that motion too. It's my specialty today.
You're on a roll. All right, I need a second.
After this meeting.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. All right, we're done. Thank you, everyone, for your time and participation.